It has begun. So since Trump has been in office, which has been for about a month now, he created DOGE, which stands for Department of Government Efficiency. Now, it's not an official government department, but they do have the power to operate thanks to an executive order that Trump signed. And they also act like advisors to the Trump administration and to the White House. Their job is pretty much to carry out Trump's agenda of federal spending cuts and maximizing governmental efficiency and productivity. Now, it's important to know that neither Trump nor DOGE has the power to cut spending. That has to go through Congress. But Congress is ran by the Republicans, so that pretty much means it's ran by Trump. Now, the executive of DOGE is Elon Musk. Now, him and Trump are like close friends, and Elon, he donated a lot of money for Trump's campaign, so he's the executive of DOGE. And so far, DOGE claims to have saved $55 billion. Now, there's also been talk going around that with all the money that DOGE is saving, they're gonna give some to the American people as either a stimulus or a tax credit. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not buying it. First off, the suggestion came from a user on Twitter, well, X. He just said, hey, why don't y'all give back some of the money to the American people? Elon saw it and was like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. I'm gonna run it past Trump. And Trump was like, okay, that's a possibility. I could see us doing that.
There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt.
I think Elon said that each taxpayer can get like $5,000 or something like that.
That's exactly right. Let's talk about these DOGE dividend checks that everybody's talking about this week. And I know you tweeted out that you're going to, does everybody want like a $5,000 check in the mail? It sounds kind of good, right? And the best part about it would be knowing where it came from. That's $5,000 that you sent them last year.
Totally. It's money that's taken away from things that are destructive to the country and from organizations that hate you to you. That's awesome.
Does it seem, I mean, have you talked to
that's like president? Glorious. That's like the spoils of battle, you know?
Spoils of battle. I like that. Is there traction on that?
Yeah. So, I took the president, and he's supportive of that. And so it sounds like, that's something we're going to do.
Yep.
So as we're finding savings, that's going to translate directly to reductions in tax.
I call cap on that. I don't think it's going to happen. For one, the $5,000 was based off of the $2 trillion that DOGE planned on saving through spending cuts and cancellation of programs and terminating leases and contracts. Now, so far, like I said, it's been only about $55 billion, which is far away from $2 trillion. And we honestly don't even know if the $55 billion is true, because they only showed receipts for about 15 to 16 billion. And the rest is just like, hey, trust me, bro, we've saved $55 billion. So even if we take them for their word, it's still a far away from $2 trillion. Now, for two, I don't believe it, because Elon already backtracked like, hey, the 5,000 was just the best case scenario, meaning if DOGE did reach their goal of cutting $2 trillion in spending, it would probably be more like a few hundred to maybe 1,000. And a lot of people just don't think it's going to happen, because if you give them back this money, whether it's a stimulus, tax credit, or whatever, people are going to spend more, which means it's going to drive up inflation. We saw it happen during COVID. It was a lot more spending and prices went up for everything. And if their goal is to cut inflation, this most likely won't happen. Now, a DOGE representative did say, oh, it could work because the people that would get the money, they're already proven to be savers. An extra $1,000 or $2,000, they'd save it. Let me let you know, it's not happening. The more money people get, the more money people spend. We saw what happened during COVID. People got these stimulus checks, and guess what? It was lines wrapped around Gucci. So yeah, I'm not sure if this is gonna happen, but that's been circulating in the news lately. But anyway, DOGE claimed they've saved about $55 billion so far, thanks to spending cuts across government departments. Now, the biggest cut was from the United States Agency of International Development, which makes sense because Trump didn't want any money going out internationally. That was a part of his agenda. And the department with the second biggest cut was the Department of Education. Now, this one was a little bit more controversial. And so far, there's been about 200,000 federal workers laid off. So they've been cutting spending and laying people off. But the reason we're all here is to see what's going on with HUD and Section 8, which is one of the most important departments in the government because it actually deals with housing. Housing is extremely important. A lot of people feel like housing is a basic human right and it should be provided for free by the government, but that's another story. Now, as I mentioned in the previous video, Scott Turner has been named as HUD's new secretary. He's been on the job now for about 2 weeks, and his main goal within HUD is to cut spending and try to get the program to run more efficiently. Pretty much the same thing that Trump said about DOGE.
Thank you. But you will have an opportunity to oppose cuts to these important programs. And so my question is, would you oppose cuts?
What I'll do is I will work with the president, I will work with Congress, and I will work with this team to make sure that the budget that we do have meets the needs of those that we are commissioned to serve.
Now, Scott Turner is actually making his own Doge task force within HUD. And since he's been HUD secretary for the past 2 weeks, there's been about $26 million cut within HUD's programs. The latest one coming just a few days ago, it was $4 million cut from a DEI contract, which is a diversity, equity, and inclusion program. This makes sense as far as lining up with Trump's agenda. You know, Trump, he wanted to get rid of all DEI contracts, programs. He didn't want the government funding any of those programs. So that was the latest one. That was a $4 million contract. But yeah, so far the total has been about 26 million over the past week and a half or so. And Elon Musk, he claims to have found $1.9 billion in misplaced HUD funds. Now, this is what he claims. So this is alleged because he didn't provide any receipts, I don't think. But he claims that Doge has discovered that. So Scott Turner has been making cuts since he's been HUD secretary, but there hasn't been any cuts to the Housing Choice Voucher Program, also known as the Section 8 program. Not yet, anyway. But the word around town is there will be some spending cuts for the program, and also that there are going to be about 4,000 HUD employees that will be laid off. That's a little bit less than half of all of HUD employees. So that's the word that's going around town. And this very news of the possibility of spending cuts and employees getting cut, this has local housing authorities worried. Because depending on who gets cut, what programs they work for, and how much money gets cut, it can have a major impact on local housing authorities, and more specifically, the Section 8 program. And I already mentioned in the last video how that can have an impact on the housing authorities, Section 8 tenants, the Section 8 landlords, and those in line waiting to get a Section 8 voucher. So this has housing authorities extremely worried. They're pretty much just bracing for impact at this point because everything is still up in the air.
So right now, nobody knows anything. And that's never a fun place to be. Luckily, there are some funds in the community that are state funds that help with housing, help with homeless prevention. So those hopefully will be fine.
In our community, it's quality housing stock, is, you know, finding enough clean, safe homes. We have an abundance of vouchers on the street right now that can't find a place to rent.
So like I said, Scott Turner has been making cuts, and it's only a matter of time before he starts looking in our direction at the Section 8 program. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to be updated on everything that's going on with HUD and the Section 8 program. And like always, look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.